Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined on Monday, May 15th, 2023. Finally saying the year right. By Denny. Did I say I'm joined by Denny Carter yet?
No, not yet. I think you were so stuck on the date that you forgot me.
It's MMXXIII.
Oh my
is
gosh.
the year, right? Right? Am I right, folks?
You are
we
right.
remember Latin. We remember our Romans.
We love our Roman numerals.
We do love our Roman numerals. We love our zero RB. Never too early to talk zero RB. It's never too late to talk zero RB. Denny and I are going to look at 5 backfields most likely to produce zero RB gold. Is that what we're going with, Denny?
Yeah. Surrounded by the kind of uncertainty that creates zero RB gold.
We're going to talk a few teams, but the Bears will be in there. The Lions will be in there. The Broncos, a really fascinating one that I tried to make Denny delete until I realized we needed them in there. Actually, Denny wants to talk Sam LaPorta, rookie Lions tight end, right?
Do I?
Do you ever? Then he has an article on teams that establish the pass in the red zone.
Yeah.
Something we've talked about with the Chiefs before. Really, really fascinating topic. Something we need to dig into. But first, the schedule release was last Thursday. It is the biggest event on the NFL calendar, Denny. Even bigger than when they read off names on draft weekend, when they read off really games we already knew were happening.
I mean, I do blame the best ball industrial complex for hyping up a schedule release so much, because then finally you know which players to draft. Before the schedule release, you have no idea. You could be drafting anybody. You draft a third string quarterback. It doesn't matter, but you finally get the correlation stacks, those sweet stacks from week 16 and 17, and you're off to the races.
Every year I make fun of the schedule release hoopla, and then every single year I'm like, oh man, this is actually kind of cool. And so the NFL does it again. They got us, the best marketing wizards in the entire world. So we want to talk to a topic near and dear to our heart real quick, and that is Thursday night football. And the very first game of the season here on NBC and Peacock is Thursday night. But, it actually is not a real Thursday night football game, because the season opening kickoff game always features the defending Super Bowl champions. They're not playing on short rest. This year, a really intriguing matchup. I was kind of shocked that the schedule makers went into this one, but trying to elevate a team that almost made the playoffs last year in the Lions, kind of our Lions. At least they were until they took Jahmyr Gibbs, the number 12.
They were. They are no longer our Lions. But
destroyed the process. But so that game is happening on Thursday, September 7th, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. They're not actually telling me to say this, but I just want to hype it. Patrick Mahomes against the Detroit Lions at Arrowhead Stadium. So that's not a real Thursday night football game, Denny. The real Thursday night football schedule kicks in week 2. And Jeff Bezos, I think he paid $1.2 trillion a year for this TV package. They are trying to get him some better games early in the year, actually, where they've got the Vikings at the Eagles. They've got the Giants at the 49ers in week 3, which, to be honest, that game could already be off the rails. Right. That's like the first off the rails potential Thursday night game. So I wanted to ask you, looking at the Thursday night football schedule, what you thought the most Thursday night football game of 2023 is. Shockingly, this year, there's no Titans-Jags. The NFL is trying to kill this tradition, and they refuse to now play Titans-Jags on Thursday night after all the jokes. But I say it's their loss.
Yeah. I have two. I have two doozies that I don't think that people are mentally or really physically prepared for. We have in week 9 on Thursday night, we have the Titans at the Steelers. Titans at Steelers. Now, this is a game where the over-under should be listed at 11.5. That should be the over-under. And honestly, you can't go over. You have to go under even at 11.5. And obviously the Steelers will win 9-2 in this game. And, I mean, just two teams that are just committed at all costs not to score points and not to gain yards. And you have to respect it. And because, hey, you know what? The Steelers still almost make the playoffs or make the playoffs every year. And they still, like you said on Twitter the other day, are continuing their reign of terror on prime time. Every Steelers game is right in our faces, even though they have Kenny Pickett as their quarterback.
It's insane. The only other team comparable reign of terror is, of course, the Chicago Bears, who are once again playing all 17 of their games in prime time.
What is with that?
This is actually not a joke. The Bears have 2 Thursday night games this year. both of which are big time contenders for Thursday night game of the year. Both Thursday night games on short rest, by the way. I'm not sure how this was like allowed in the collective bargaining agreement, like why. I'm sure the players are not happy about this. So two major candidates for Thursday night game of the year are week 5, the Bears at the Commanders.
Whew. I saw that. I skipped past that one, but yes, that could be an absolute disgusting game.
And then we have the Bears at the Panthers in week 10 on November 9th. That's like right when like holiday seasons, people are starting to think forward to Thanksgiving. Like, talk about the wrong way to kick off the holiday season. That's Thursday, November 9th, with Bears Panthers.
So I just want to forecast that game for showdown purposes and for DFS purposes. DJ Moore is going to be 100% in the captain spot in those lineups because it is a DJ Moore revenge game, and we do not ignore a DJ Moore revenge game. But yeah, that game could be ugly. Can we talk about what could be the most catastrophic game, which is at the very end of the season on Thursday night? Folks, we have the New York Jets at the Cleveland Browns on December 28th. I mean, what in the world? That like there are several paths to that being just a horrific game between two teams that have maybe both fired their head coaches at that point. Maybe no Aaron Rodgers, maybe Deshaun Watson's been benched at some point. Who knows? We have to see if Chris Trevor will get another start this season. It'll be in week 17.
Well, you said at Cleveland too, which they should not be allowed to play night games in Cleveland after November 1st. There are straight line winds of 60 miles an hour off Lake Erie every day in Cleveland, Ohio after November 1st.
They need a dome. I'm begging the Browns to build a dome. No. Listen, the fact that the NFL has to consider canceling every single Browns home game after Halloween is an indication that you need a dome. I'm sorry. Enough of this. Enough of 80 mile an hour winds where the beat writers are like, 12 people have been hospitalized before kickoff, and then you tune in and someone hits a 40-yard touchdown right down the middle. There's no wind, so I don't know.
Always be Pittsburgh had the worst weather. I think maybe with like the changing weather patterns, somehow now Cleveland has become the worst weather town in the NFL because it's not even close. It hasn't even been a close second the past 2 or 3 years. Bears Commanders week 5, Jaguars Saints week 7's kind of sneaky just because I know it's Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, but it's the Jags who own Thursday night. Derek Carr for the Saints. Titans Steelers, of course. And I'm surprised you didn't highlight Saints Rams in week 16.
That could get ugly.
We got Derek Carr versus like a Rams roster with this zero depth. Like, who knows who's going to be hurt by then?
Well, really, what you have is Taysom Hill versus Stetson Bennett in that game.
And you have Jeff Bezos crying real tears. real tears.
He's going to go broke. We have to think about Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos has probably had his tear ducts removed, so we cannot physically cry.
So that, you know what? That's an alpha move, and I'm looking into that myself.
He is an alpha. We are not alphas. That's why we're here to talk about zero RB, the single best fantasy football pro, and our single most covered offseason topic always. But we're looking for value in offseason draft, especially early in offseason draft. Well, I mean, zero RB. When is even the best time for zero RB drafting? Is it now?
Yeah.
Where ADPs are settled? Is it in like August when the market, quote unquote, the market, quote unquote, is overconfident in its projections for the upcoming season and say everyone's all in, like some injury prone running back in the 3rd round while you're hammering someone in the 9th round? But
right.
I don't even know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, no. I hear what you're saying.
Start talking about zero RB.
Oh, I will happily. First of all, yeah, last season was glorious for zero RB. It was the only way that you won a championship. Now I know we have listeners who say I took 6 running backs in a row off the board and I won my league easily. Okay, all right, but still, you gotta hand it to us. It worked. It worked last year. The process finally worked one time, and and I think we're going to see a lot of the same now. As far as like when to take advantage of running back ADPs, I mean honestly, right after the draft, like we are now, before training camp gets started, I think that is the time where you can really read the tea leaves and really get down in the muck and say, you know what? Like, this guy is going in the 15th round, and by training camp, he's going to be going, I mean, not really high, but maybe in the 9th round, maybe in the 10th round. And that's a huge difference, 5 rounds, increase in ADP. If you can get in on the ground level, and I'm not selling you on an LML, is that what they're called? MLM. MLM. I'm not selling you on an MLM. I'm selling you on zero RB, and you can get deals right now. Dial 1-800-Denny.
Yeah, we are setting up that. Actually, that is a complaint hotline for NBC for complaints about Denny Carter and his rankings. And,
why does my wife keep calling?
Yeah, they have actually blocked her number, by the way. Although they sympathize with her plight, they have blocked her number from calling 1-800-Denny. And you kind of got it. I think there's 2 different seasons of zero RB drafting, whereas right now it's trying to get out in front of ADP,
right?
And which we talked about on the show last week, predicting ADPs that will be rising and falling over the next 3 months. Whereas in training camp, like mid to late August, I'd say there's a different kind of zero RB, and that's like hedging, like overconfidence. Like, why is everyone like all in on Breece Hall, who is coming off a torn ACL and has yet to resume practicing, and it's August 20th? That's like kind of the other zero RB approach. But we're not right now. We're kind of, I guess, maybe focusing trying to get out in front of ADP. And just what's the first backfield you think is looking like a zero RB gold mine, one where there's going to be just crazy ADPs and leverage and value to be had?
The Washington Commanders. They recently sold Washington Commanders. Congratulations to Commanders. Actually, I have to tell you, there was a radio commercial. The local rock station that carries the Commanders game said, "Welcome to a new era in Commanders football." Like, people are pumped.
They are. It's a true, ladies and gentlemen, we got him situation. they finally got him. Although I don't think he's signed on the dotted line yet. That he signed.
No, not yet. But you know what though? Daniel Snyder, he learned his lesson. He learned 6 billion lessons. Okay. Yeah. He's never going to do that again. So anyway, true. Let's get back into this Commanders backfield. So you have Brian Robinson, you have Antonio Gibson. And you have a draft pick by the Commanders, Chris Rodriguez. Now, Rodriguez was a 6th rounder, so we're not expecting a lot, but I think it is noteworthy. And the Athletic actually reported this today, that new offensive coordinator in Washington, Eric Bieniemy, quote, influenced the selection of running back Chris Rodriguez in the 6th round.
Denny, real quick, I will never influence the selection.
He influenced it.
Right.
There was a lot of influencing going on. And so I think that's the kind of note that you take away and you say, okay, like maybe you take a stab at Rodriguez at the very end of your draft right now. I mean, maybe. Okay. And then if a few more noteworthy items crop up in the next 6 weeks or so, then you say, okay, like I need to start getting Rodriguez on my roster more and more, because he could find himself at the top of the pecking order come week 1. I mean, really, like that's how in flux this Washington backfield is. For me, I'm not interested at all in Brian Robinson at ADP. Much more interested in Antonio Gibson. Apparently Bieniemy likes Gibson, wants to use him more, and Gibson has the added benefit of being good. And Brian Robinson, great story. Nothing against Brian Robinson, but he's not good. So, we have to, we do want occasionally a good running back on our roster. So I'll go with Gibson.
And you pay. So first off, right now an underdog, which again is not going to be representative of like your home league ADPs.
No.
These are the psychos drafting. That includes us. So not casting aspersions on our psychos out there. We love our psychos.
We do. They're listening right now.
We love our psychos. Well, many of them are listening. One of them used to be on this show, and then being a psycho, got him quite a big score.
And, now
he's
got
gone.
$2 million. So,
and we hate you, Pat.
But congratulations.
We love you though too. Not bitter about that at all. But underdog ADP right now, Brian Robinson's the RB 34, Antonio Gibson's the RB 42. I do think that should be reversed. Then Chris Rodriguez is the RB 98. But you couldn't be more right. My eyes immediately arched when I read that Eric Bieniemy had personally stumped for Chris Rodriguez. And this is an offense in Washington that has made the pass catching running back like a complete staple. And it was under different offensive coordinators, of course, but that didn't used to be a thing in Kansas City. But the Chiefs, kind of went 0 RB in real life the past 2 years and made pass catching RB a real big part of their offense, especially in the red zone.
Yes.
With Jerick McKinnon. And it does seem like J.D. McKissick is no more in Washington. Sixth round is like that. That's a lot of positions. You don't pay attention to sixth round talent at all. You just don't. But running back is one position where you do pay attention to that. Yeah. And it just seems like Chris Rodriguez is someone who should be on your radar and someone who could definitely be catching passes. And even if you like Antonio Gibson, I don't find either of those backs really appealing as like an RB3 right now. And Washington just strike me as a true 0 RB backfield where the only thing I would really want to be doing right now is getting Chris Rodriguez for free.
Yeah, right. And so Rodriguez, just to give you an idea of his college production, 36 touchdowns over his final 3 seasons in Kentucky at Kentucky. He averaged 6.2 yards per carry. I know it's a boomer stat, but 6.2 yards per carry over those seasons. So really like hyper productive guy, but not necessarily a workhorse. But like Brian Robinson, to me, I have to say that I think Brian Robinson was largely a creation of Ron Rivera. And if Ron Rivera really does give the offense over to Eric Bieniemy, I can't imagine that he's going to commit to Robinson as the lead back here.
By the way, the last time there was a pass-catching Kentucky running back was Lynn Bowden, who is now out of the league.
We remember him.
We stand.
We're very excited about him.
We do stand still. Denny doesn't know what that means. Ask your son, Denny.
I will ask my son.
Although he's never heard that because it went out of style 5 years ago. So saying we stand. But I had to bring up that entirely representative data point that since Lynn Bowden failed, Chris Rodriguez is no chance.
Everybody needs to know about Lynn Bowden.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people don't even remember Lynn Bowden probably. Who is next, Denny? Where are we looking for 0 RB golden nuggets?
Looking to Detroit, which was among the league leaders in expected fantasy points out of the backfield last year. The Lions love to establish it near the goal line, and we have to accept that. I think we have to say, okay, fine, Amon-Ra St. Brown will never score a touchdown. We have to come to grips with possibly David Montgomery scoring all the touchdowns and possibly Jahmyr Gibbs. We'll see how it unfolds. But yeah, so you have Montgomery and Gibbs are the two guys, obviously, that we're going to be agonizing over. Montgomery going off the board at RB 27, Gibbs going off at RB 13. That's risen. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's this is why this is a 0 RB backfield, basically.
And yes. And so if you're drafting 0 RB, you're not taking Gibbs unless you're doing hero RB. Now, hero RB is
fully in the 0 RB build.
But when you're doing hero, that gives you a chance to sell out your principles completely, and take hey, one good running back. What can that hurt? And I did that with Alvin Kamara last year, and it didn't hurt anything, folks. It hurt a lot. It was actually disastrous for me.
That's why you're no longer employed by us.
Right. I'm doing the podcast for free. You're welcome.
It's part of your severance. So typically when an employee gets laid off, not to take people behind the curtain, there's a severance agreement. When Denny was laid off, he actually had to pay a severance to NBC if we ever employed
That's right.
him. And
11 years of podcasting.
Part of that is 11 years of podcasting for free. So
we're in year one. And
sorry, it is May 15th, folks.
Anyway, David Montgomery is going to be on all my teams. That's what I'm saying. RB 27.
I actually do fully agree with that. And I hate to say that because I am one of those drafters. I love flashy young players. I love big play threats. But the Gibbs ADP is just insane to me. I think it could drop a little, but we kind of discussed like these group dynamics. It'll probably actually just raise. I don't know what's the correct.
You mean Montgomery?
Yeah. No. Gibbs's, I think.
Oh yeah.
Continue to get more out of control. And just like, he could be like the next Austin Eckler. He could be the next Tony Pollard, but that's just not an outcome that you bet on, even with first round draft capital. And that's what he needs to be to make RB 13 like even remotely like palatable. I keep saying words like
palatable.
Wow. Palatable.
Cleanses the palate.
And RB 13 is one of the most aspirational ADPs I've seen all spring. And you hate to go back to DeMont Nation, but the RB27 and a proven two-back backfield with a rookie who is just straight up a change of pace, at least this year.
Yeah.
RB27. David Montgomery is inheriting the Jamal Williams role, which led the league in touchdowns last year.
And people say, well, that can't last. And yes, that's probably true. Like, he's not going to end up Montgomery. You can't pencil in Montgomery for 17, 18 touchdowns. Obviously, what you can pencil him in for are extremely high value touches. And that's really a key in identifying good zero RB candidates, is seeing where those high value touches being receptions and being touches inside the 10 in what we call the green zone. We in the industry call the green zone. So we want that sweet green zone touch based floor for a running back like Montgomery, who is not flashy, and he's not going to put up crazy numbers. He's not going to lead the league in like yards after contact or anything, but he gets what's there. And you know what? Dan Campbell loves him. That's all I care about.
And I definitely think the Jamal Williams role is staying in the Lions offense. And
yes,
it's partly to do with Jared Goff, who coaches hide him in the red zone. They're terrified of Jared Goff turning the ball over in the red zone. He's played with so much offensive talent and so much like offensive brain power with his offensive coordinators. And he's had 130 touchdown season ever. He had 29 touchdowns in 17 games last year, which is not a horrible total, but coaching staffs do not want to put a lot on Jared Goff's plate in the red zone. They don't want him making a crippling turnover. And so even though Jamal Williams is gone, that role is remaining. And there's just zero reason to believe it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, the change of pace rookie, and every reason to believe it's going to be the grizzled veteran David Montgomery.
So just to give folks an idea of how run heavy Detroit was last year in the red zone, and this will actually kind of be a sneak peek at my next article for the site. The Lions ran the ball on 50.3% of their red zone snaps last year. That was the 7th highest rush rate in the league. Okay, so it was up there. Yeah,
kind of shocked it was only 7th, but not at all surprised to hear they were in the top 10. Real quick, there are 6 Lions running backs with ADPs on Underdog right now.
Jeez.
Undrafted rookie Mohamed Ibrahim is the RB87 apparently. Fullback Jason Kabinda is the RB108. And then Craig Reynolds and Jamar Jefferson, who I guess they're still on the 53-man roster, both still have ADPs. So that's
remarkable. So
when we're talking psychos, folks.
Yeah, the player from Minnesota, Ibrahim, he had 1 million rushing yards in college.
He's also like 69 years old.
Yeah, no, he's aged. He's 3 months older than me. So that's
real bad.
Concern.
Real bad. It was very concerned. One reason why your wife continues to call 1-800-DENNY.
Don't call that. By the way, don't call that number.
We have no idea where that goes. Do not call that number. Denny, what is the third zero RB backfield we are looking to target?
We're looking very strongly into the Seattle Seahawks backfield, and we talked about this last week with Kyle with Ken Walker possibly falling in ADP after the team took Zach Charbonnet and Kenny McIntosh in the final round, I believe, of the draft. And Pete Carroll did what Pete Carroll does, and he came out and he said that Kenny, he's quite a player. We got to get him the ball. We got to figure out ways to get him the ball, as if there's more than one football on the field at that. That's what Pete Carroll talks like. So, so somebody's going to drop to a place where you feel pretty comfortable taking them and saying, an injury here, an injury there, and I have the lead back for a balanced, if not possibly run first, Seattle offense. So like last year, with Walker was drafted as kind of until like August or so, a zero RB target. I think he was going in like the 6th, 7th round, somewhere in there,
something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, at 12-team leagues, and he made a lot of sense as a guy you wanted to be right in your league. He went first overall.
Yeah, he did.
But just in case Rashad Penny went down, just in case they turned to the rookie. And it worked out. I mean, it didn't win your league, but it definitely worked out. So this is one to monitor as far as like, and you can't leave out McIntosh as far as who is going to be kind of the forgotten man here as far as ADP goes.
You really cannot forget about McIntosh. I wish this were a joke, but when Pete Carroll had a press conference, I believe last Thursday, and he talked about the running backs for quite a long time, and I forget which Seahawks beat reporter was live tweeting it, but he was doing a thread, and like 3 or 4 tweets in the thread were just Pete Carroll talking about Kenny McIntosh. He's like, so like they draft Zach Charbonnet, you're like, oh come on, man, like he's just gonna make things weird now with Zach Charbonnet, and then Pete Carroll, mind you, he's not just making it weird with Zach Charbonnet. He's going to make it weird with Kenny McIntosh. And I'm going to regurgitate some stuff I already said on the pod, but I think there was a lot of factors at play here, with the Seahawks being one of which. Pete Carroll, of course, is obsessed with the run and obsessed with drafting running backs. But last year they got caught real short at running back when Kenneth Walker got banged up, and they were giving touches to Tony Jones, who just didn't belong on an NFL roster. It was a real bad situation. They didn't have like a logical pass catching successor. Travis Homer and DJ Dallas just weren't getting it done, and both kept getting hurt. Travis Homer's gone. DJ Dallas is still on the roster. We'll see if he actually makes the 53-man roster this summer. And it's kind of like, so kind of overhauling the backfield in general, I do wonder if they kind of have, I already said this on the podcast too, so sorry if I'm repeating myself, but that they kind of like bad memories of Chris Carson, who they wanted to rely on so bad. He was so violent. He was just getting hurt all the time. We saw a little bit of that with Kenneth Walker last year. And so I very much believe the Seahawks' actions in season will match their actions in the draft, and they are intent on making this a multi-back backfield. And Kenneth Walker is still going to be probably a pretty valuable RB2 and maybe even a valuable RB1. But then it's going to be a very like fateful decision, basically. Kenneth Walker's going to be a classic, like could go either way.
Yeah. So you have Zach Charbonnet going 103 is his ADP. So like a 10-team league, you're talking about the 10th round. So you're talking about the 8th round in 12-team leagues. Like right now, I think he would make a lot of sense if you're going heavy on like elite tight ends and wide receivers early on. To see if Charbonnet can maybe benefit from an injury. We don't hope for injuries, folks, but they happen, and you like to be prepared. So benefit from an injury, or possibly just carve out a lead back role there in Seattle.
Denny, what did you think of my Ken Walker analysis, where I said, hey, it could be a good pick, it could be a bad pick,
and there's a third option. It could be a so-so pick. We just have to wait.
As I was going, I realized I was in the team that scores more points is going to win Denny mode.
Right. You were doing the old in this league, you have to score more points to win the game.
What I was trying to say that he's going to be one of those fateful ADPs, kind of like a dividing line pick where like your draft might be decided by where you take Kenneth Walker, where he's either going to be like, oh yeah, we really overthought that and he's amazing. Or then, we should have read even more into Zach Charbonnet, and I'm screwed now.
You have to, and Kyle made this point last week, and it's worth repeating that Pete Carroll doesn't care about draft capital. Like he is not reading all that, okay? And like any analytics geek who would be like, "Excuse me, you invested this much draft capital into Kenneth Walker," he would say, "I don't know what you're talking about, kid. I got football players. I'm gonna play the best football player."
The first day of 2012 training camp, they handed Pete Carroll Matt Flynn's contract, and he threw it in the trash.
Yes,
that's
right. He said, "We're playing the short kid."
He did. He got out a bottle of lighter fluid and then just sprayed it all over his contract and then lit it on fire.
Right, we're playing the short kid that no one wanted.
Yeah,
and Russell Wilson went on to become the greatest and now most hated Seattle Seahawks.
It is actually an OSHA violation to spray lighter fluid at your place of employment too. So
I hardly ever do that.
I almost lapsed in, by the way, to a Tony Romo impression again when I was doing the Kenneth Walker. I don't know if I have confidence to bust it out again right now, but I think I'm going to make that part of the rotation.
I hope you garner the confidence to bring out one Tony Romo.
I'm going to make that part of the rotation. We'll be right back after this to talk more zero RB backfields. Every season is draft season. Get your Rotoworld Draft Guide bundle today and dominate your football, baseball, and basketball drafts. It's packed with profiles, rankings, and projections. Order today and get all 3 Rotoworld Draft Guides for the price of 2. Plus, use promo code BARRY to save an extra 20% off at checkout. That is promo code BERRY to save an extra 20% off at checkout. And don't forget, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It is available in your app store today. We're back. And you might think we're done talking about zero RB, but you would be sorely mistaken.
We will never be done talking zero.
No, it's quite literally true. We are going to be talking about all season because it is one of the most fascinating topics. Yeah. And it's the kind of thing we get the most questions about. We got 2 more zero RB backfields we want to talk about.
Yes.
What are they? What is the first one?
We are now talking about the Chicago Bears, who, along with the Falcons, were, we'll say, stubbornly run heavy last year. We have the Bears with the lowest pass rate over expected last year at negative 15%. Negative 15%. That was lower than even Arthur Smith in Atlanta at negative 12%, even lower than the negative 9% from Tennessee. So, I mean, we're talking about massively run first philosophy. And you have three guys to pick from. It's not just 2. You get 3 stabs at the apple or whatever they say. And
I don't think that's a phrase. I don't know, Jim.
you stab the apple, Tony. And you so here are the guys that you can stab the apple with. You have Roschon Johnson, the rookie. You have Khalil Herbert, who has been hyper efficient as a kind of part-time change of pace kind of back in Chicago. And you have D'Onta Foreman, who has very successfully come back from a catastrophic Achilles injury to be like Herbert, very efficient in his time in Carolina. So yeah, I think all 3 of those guys are unfortunately interesting. And man, if you can hit on the guy who gets the lead back role, I mean, you're rolling, because honestly, it doesn't matter how game script goes. Like, they're establishing it like it's 1975.
Yeah, this backfield hits the zero RB trifecta, where they have intriguing returning young player who may or may not be valued more highly by the fantasy community than the coaching staff. And Khalil Herbert could have one of those going on. We have free agent addition and D'Onta Foreman, who just rocked the advanced metrics in 2022. Part of that was the Panthers somehow turning into like a road paving offensive line after they fired Matt Rule. But Deontay Johnson, intriguing free agent addition. And then early day 3 running back, Roschon Johnson, but legit draft capital for running back, 4th rounder. So like you said, it's the kind of situation where you basically have to like trust your evaluation. And like, it could be something that clarifies with like coaching comments and rephrasing something you kind of said in coach speak earlier when we were talking about Rodriguez with the Commanders. Is a lot of people think that like they kind of treat anything a coach says as coach speak, but like the themes, the reiterations are what is worth like taking stock of. And if there becomes a theme where Matt Eberflus is all summer is like D'Onta Foreman at the goal line, man, like this guy, once the pads come on, Deontay becomes like a different man. He actually like really physically scares me. And you're like, wow, all right, it sounds like they like him as their goal line back. So look for themes in the coach speak, because this is gonna be just a classic tea leaf reading. I didn't even mention Travis Homer, who could legitimately become the pass catching back. I mean, but it's where this is like a flag planting backfield where you're gonna have to take your stand and hope you're right. We could. This is this time of year. We could get a lot more clarity in August in training camp. But like you were basically trusting your gut on the Bears backfield right now.
I do. So Herbert is going first by a pretty considerable margin here in the Chicago backfield. His ADP is 121. Roschon Johnson's going at 141, and D'Onta Foreman's going at 158. The thing about Herbert is that, man, we don't have much evidence that he can like carry even like a moderately heavy workload. The guy has 4 games in his career. In 30 NFL games, he has 5 in which he's seen more than 18 carries. And does that make sense? Okay, so we have the 5 basically like workhorse type performances in 30 games. Also, like he's never been like one to draw a lot of targets out of the backfield. He has 2 games out of those 30 with more than 4 targets in a game. So I do think that we are overvaluing Khalil Herbert, and I would be right now more apt to look at the other two, Foreman and Johnson.
And another red flag with Khalil Herbert was every time he did have one of those rare workhorse games when David Montgomery was injured, like he would wow the fantasy community. And then the second David Montgomery came back, they would always just give him his old role back, like lock, stock, and barrel. Right. Where it was like the people, the Denny Carters of the world would be writing, well, Khalil Herbert earned more touches this week, folks.
No, you're right. And no, you're right. And I actually have lost faith in the idea that a running back can earn more playing time. I think it's just entirely up to like coaches' moods on a given day. Like, is this coach in a good mood? Then he'll give the guy more touches. If he's in a bad mood, no, he's going back to the old veteran, like the guy who gets what's blocked and nothing more. And we're going to grind out 3 yards at a time. Really, like there's no evidence that excellent performance garners more workload for a running back.
We have back-to-back Bears coaching staffs too that just seem to agree with that Khalil Herbert is strictly a role player. He could get a valuable fantasy role still, but
yeah, maybe. But I tend to, first of all, I know he's built like a bowling ball, but he is small. Like we have to give it to him. He's pretty small.
He is. Wow, Denny. You just had to go there yet again.
You got it. This is a big guys league. It is. And, did you see Bryce Young behind his lineman the other day?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
No, I'm saying I literally didn't see him.
Yeah, well, it looked like take your kid to work day. And I'm not
come on, man.
I'm not making fun. Like people say, oh, you can't make fun of people's height. I'm not making fun of height or weight. Like he's
he's our size, just to be clear.
Bigger than I am. But I'm not.
He actually might not be. He's like your exact size.
Okay, he's my exact size, and I'm not. I should not be on an NFL field. The Panthers fans are coping so hard about the size thing. I just hope it works out for them. I really do. I think
I actually really, really do. I love Bryce Young. And
Bryce Young's great.
If he's a bust,
he strikes me as a guy who's going to be a great coach one day, and maybe he'll also be a good player. Maybe. But to me, like his brain is unbelievable. Like, if you put that brain into, Josh Allen's body, I don't know, so a big dude's body, you have the greatest of all time.
You're already hitting Bryce Young with the great coach slander, huh, man? That's like the worst thing you can say about a young. This guy's gonna be a great coach someday. Like, you're reading like a pre-draft evaluation. It says like future coach. Like, all right, next.
I think Bryce Young could legit be an NFL head coach at like 26 years old.
This is the way the league is trending.
Like get him on the sideline.
What is the final zero RB backfield we were talking about?
All right, we're talking about the Broncos, and Javonte Williams suffered a very serious knee injury, and I'm not saying that some ACLs are bad and some are fine. They're all bad, but he damaged his PCL, his ACL, and another ligament whose abbreviation I can't remember at the moment, MCL. It's very much like the J.K. Dobbins situation. And then you've had some back and forth, some waxing and waning from Broncos, front office, from Sean Payton. Now Sean Payton says that everything's fine. He'll be ready for training camp. Even if he is, I think that we still have to approach this with an air of skepticism, and we have to draft Samaj P. Ryan. And I think that is what I'm getting at, folks, is that Samaj P. Ryan.
This is your whole reason for existing. Your entire life is built towards telling people we must be drafting Broncos Samaje Perine.
Did I walk over to my neighbor's house today and give him a little baggie of flour? He needed some flour, and say you need to draft Samaje Perine. I did do that today. So and he has that dog. He was pretty good in Joe Mixon's place last year in Cincinnati. Sean Payton likes him a lot. That's all I'm saying. And this team is going to definitely 100% shift back to the kind of Pete Carroll approach to Russell Wilson, where he becomes a glorified game manager. And that's going to be great for whoever gets the lead back role.
I can't be the only fantasy analyst who thinks that Jarrett Stidham and Samaje Perine are going to wreck this league. No one remembers the wreck this league joke from Twitter.
That was a good one, actually.
That was a really, really good one.
But by the way, we have a little tightening of ADP right now in the Denver backfield. You have Javonte Williams going at 90, and you have Samaje Perine going at 115. So not that far off.
I basically think Javonte Williams should be on do not draft lists. And you mentioned the Broncos kind of being like all over the map with their Javonte Williams messaging. Like Sean Payton is the least reliable coach in the NFL with injury information.
Yeah.
Like he's like one of the few coaches where you should just truly ignore what he says. Like you're kind of like actively misinforming yourself when you listen to Sean Payton on injuries. Like he's just that bad with injuries. And most indications are that it is a J.K. Dobbins type situation and that he's not going to be right. Even if he's like healthy enough to play football in week 1, like that spring, that explosion isn't going to be back. And maybe if he gets fully faded, maybe there could be some great value in Javonte Williams, but
he's not going to.
It just seems like a stay away situation. Yeah.
You're going to have to go in on Javonte Williams to get him. Like I don't see a universe where you get to Javonte Williams in your draft and you're like, oh man, well there's no risk here, like I can take him here and it'll be fine. Even if he misses the first 8 weeks of the season, I'm still good. No. You're gonna have to make a decision. Is Javonte Williams going to play week 1, and is he going to be himself in week 1? And I would be pretty surprised if the answer were yes, he'll be fine.
The Broncos are going to be like a fantasy black box this summer where we won't really know what to do at running back. We're not going to really know who to prioritize a receiver. I guess Jerry Jeudy, but I feel like it's going to be a totally unpredictable allocation of targets with Sean Payton coming in and drafting Marvin Mims and Tim Patrick coming back and Cortland Sutton's looking like he never regained his lost step from his injury. And they tried to trade Jerry Jeudy. So it's going to be so all over the map with how they hand out these targets and these touches with Sean Payton.
Will be. Yes, it will be. But I guess there is also a scenario where Perine gets a little too rich for my blood too.
Oh yeah, so that is happening. I mean, already RB37 to be frank, like just why would you?
I mean, but that's a sharp ADP if we want to call it that. Like that those are people who are reading blurbs as they're written. Okay.
Yes, true.
And so I have a feeling in your old home league, no one's going to be, running around the draft room looking for who's going to take Samaje Perine. Don't take. I got to take him.
Rather than taking Samaje Perine at 115, his current ADP, or as the RB37, I would rather take literally any other player. We'll see. So,
all right. Well, even RB3 in Denver, Tyler Beatty.
Yes, Tyler Beatty, his former Mizzou great, who was done wrong by the Baltimore Ravens. Talk about 3-down talent, folks. Tyler Beatty.
I mean, but the Ravens have no appetite for a guy who's not going to be just a slow up the middle guy like Gus Edwards.
By the way, speaking of Tony Jones, shouldn't belong on an NFL roster. He reunited with Sean Payton in Denver. Coaches love to remember some guys. And
coaches, they only know the guys they've coached.
They will literally trade for Adam Troutman rather than just talking to someone. Talk to someone. I forgot about that. You don't have to trade for Adam Troutman.
No, you can just wait till he's no longer on a roster.
It's true. According to Denny, you do have to trade for, in your dynasty league, you do have to draft Sam LaPorta, rookie Lions tight end. Forget what round he went in. I think it was day 2, Denny. Yeah. Why? Tell the folks today why we're talking about Sam LaPorta.
Yeah.
As we move on from zero RB segment is over.
You don't have to. This is not a legal requirement. Neither party has presented this as a federal law. So, but the Athletics' Colton Pouncey reported last week that Sam LaPorta was, quote, the best player on the field by a wide margin in rookie minicamp. This, of course, as our blurb says, will be fuel in the hype machine for the rookie. He was used out wide. He was used in the slot. I think that we will see that a lot of times. You have this from Pouncey, from the Athletics, Colton Pouncey. It almost feels as though the Lions want to build a semi-positionless offense with speed and playmaking as the core strengths among skill players. Now, please, whatever you do, don't think that means that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a receiver, because here's the thing. Jahmyr Gibbs is not a receiver and will not be treated like one, because no running back is a receiver.
It's never once happened. It happens every offseason in the notebook section of articles.
That's right.
Taking reps in the slot. I don't know. He's in the slot. Where's he going? Oh, he's back in the backfield, Jim. Sorry.
Yep. Right. I mean, even when running backs line up in the slot, they are then motioned to the back.
Always motioned back into the backfield instantly.
All right. So we have that going on with Bijan Robinson already. People are talking, more and more people are talking. They're saying, oh, he's a receiver. He's a receiver. Even Bijan Robinson, I'm a receiver. He's not a receiver. That's the thing about Bijan Robinson. He's a running back. So we have to treat him like one. Anyway, LaPorta should be very much involved. Could be the number 2 pass catching option behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's going to be a wide gap between number 1 and number 2, because St. Brown dominates targets to such a degree. But LaPorta maybe is a discount Dalton Kincaid, as Dalton Kincaid's ADP moves up toward number 1 overall.
Yeah, I know. See, currently Dalton Kincaid's ADP is the tight end 11. Sam LaPorta is the tight end 22, despite like 7 or 8 picks in difference in real life draft capital between them.
Yes. And so I'm thinking that LaPorta seems like the option there over Kincaid, and nothing against Kincaid. Nothing against him. Look, he had one good college game.
And he hasn't played football since then. He didn't do any testing in the pre-draft process.
No testing. One good college game. We looked into it. He did not have a second good college game.
Oh man.
And he's being treated like the second coming of Travis Kelce. Yeah, he's a rookie. And when folks say, I'm sorry to rant on Kincaid, but when folks say no, you don't understand, he's a receiver. Well, we said the same thing about Kyle Pitts, who is not a generational tight end profile, an all-time tight end profile. And how did that work? How did that work out for us? So you got to pump the brakes, folks, on Dalton Kincaid. It's out of control.
Well, anytime you can draft this generation's Mike Gesicki, Denny, I think you have to do it.
That's right. That's what we're talking about. Like, it doesn't matter that he's going to run slot routes. It doesn't matter at all. You know who else runs slot routes? Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst runs a lot of slot routes. Are you excited for him? I'm not particularly.
I'm glad we could get you this animated on May 15th about some tight end talk. It's really, I actually am like legitimately glad. It's pretty great. We've both been kind of keyed up today.
A lot of coffee.
Yeah, we're going to end the show talking about teams that established the pass in the red zone. Denny's recent article on NBC Sports Edge. Please go check it out. We've talked about the Chiefs establishing the red zone pass before on the show, Denny. Who are some other teams that joined them in 2022?
Yeah, so I have a full list of kind of the top half teams in pass rate in the red zone. Bucks, Chiefs, Vikings kind of in a tier of their own, and then Raiders, Rams, Dolphins, Chargers. Some teams that popped in there that were in there that kind of caught my attention and did not expect them in there. The Titans, the Saints, the Jets. But the Jets were very pass heavy when Zach Wilson was not under center. So I guess maybe that's not a shocking development. But we'll skip over the Chiefs part, because we talked about that, how like it's very much by design that Jerick McKinnon or CEH or whoever is in the backfield is going to see a lot of targets in not only inside the 20, but more importantly, inside the 10. That's where McKinnon caught all of his touchdowns last year.
That is
inside the 10. So that will continue. Okay, we can pretty much bank on that. The Vikings are interesting because Kevin O'Connell was not interested at all in establishing the run inside the 20, and that provided a sort of, I don't know, new avenue to a ceiling, to a like a astronomical ceiling for Justin Jefferson, where he saw 19 red zone targets last year, leading the league alongside Travis Kelce. That's 9 more than he saw the previous year in 2021. And that's a huge increase. And Justin Jefferson does a lot with his targets. Was very effective in the red zone. That should continue this year. And you would also kind of look forward and say, hey, how does this project for TJ Hawkinson, who was by far and away Kirk Cousins' number 2 option, both inside and outside of the red zone. So you would think that Hawkinson, despite being kind of a catch and fall down type guy, would have a little bit of touchdown upside in an offense that is dead set on throwing it inside the 20.
Yeah, Hawkinson working on becoming the first ever pass catcher to average like under 6 yards per reception.
Yeah,
That's the way he was trending with the Vikings last year.
Yeah, but it's not been great for
the Vikings. Also, there's a weird variable where we don't even know if the number 1 running back is still going to be with the team, and that could create an even more acute need to pass in the red zone. I'm talking about a team that I am surprised would pass in the red zone so much. The team that employs Kirk Cousins just seems like that's kind of a poor strategy.
Right. Well, we like it. We like it for our fantasy football folks.
Because every year, Kirk Cousins, you look at because he's known as like Mr. Interception, and you look at his Pro Football Reference, like, wow, he only had 8 interceptions, and you go, oh, all 8 of them were inside the 3-yard line. Wow.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a real stat. We'll have to look at that.
We don't. Who else do you want to talk about? Highlight. Who else do you want to highlight that establishes the pass?
I wanted to highlight 2 more teams. First of all, the Bucks. The Bucks folks, they led the league with a 70% red zone pass rate last year, and my halfway educated guess is that with Baker Mayfield and or Kyle Trask under center, that's going to drop. We're going to see that number drop.
Yeah, I don't think I believe is the word.
Yes, I don't think Todd Bowles will want to throw one single time inside the 20 this year with those 2 quarterbacks. So it could be the first team to have a 0% pass rate in the red zone is what I'm saying. And that's real bad for Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, but particularly Mike Evans. Listen to this stat, and this is in the piece if you like, check it out. Evans has an astounding 24 touchdowns on 36 green zone targets since the start of the 2020 season when Tom Brady came to Tampa. That's insane. Like what? How is that possible? No one could stop Mike Evans. And you saw it many times. For those who watch the game, I've never watched the game. For those who watch the game, Tom Brady just dropped back, threw it up to 7'8" Mike Evans, and he caught it over a small DB, and that was that. That's not going to happen anymore. So Mike Evans gets that touchdown opportunity lopped off of his fantasy prospects, and I would struggle to draft him as a wide receiver too, even like a low end wide receiver too.
The Bucs should trade Mike Evans during training camp.
Oh,
I think
please.
That might happen. There hasn't been a ton of smoke there yet, but that's just something that makes the most sense for all involved and something that needs to happen. Who is the final establish the pass inside the red zone team you want to talk about?
Yeah, look, Sean McVay does not like running the ball inside the 20 and really doesn't like running it inside the 10. That has been fantasy gold for Cooper Kupp. Their whole offense is designed around getting Kupp open inside the 10, and it has worked beautifully. You can check out the article for the numbers surrounding Kupp and how he's used and the production that he's given the Rams and fantasy managers inside the 10. It's also probably not great for a guy like Cam Akers, who has would seem to have a beat on the lead back role in LA. And so, you have to kind of take that into account. Not that, it's a huge knock on Akers, but it's great. It's great for Kupp. It's great possibly for if the Rams ever have a second pass catcher in the offense. I think that would be good. And, hey, look, it might not be so bad for Matthew Stafford if he gets a bunch of, high value throws near the goal line. That's what we like from our fantasy quarterbacks.
Another guy where I wonder how long they'll stay on that program, since Stafford has really, really upped his interception machine credentials the past year and a half for the Rams. But with Cooper Kupp back, Stafford does have a mind meld with Cooper. It's all about Cooper Kupp. That stat with the Rams, I feel like it's just all about Cooper Kupp.
It is. So, back in 2021, which I know seems like a decade ago, Stafford had a league-leading 64 attempts inside the 10-yard line. 26 of his 41 touchdowns that season came in the green zone. That worked out beautifully for him and for Cooper Kupp, who, again, is the focal point of the offense in the place where it matters the most, near the goal line.
Very interesting stat. Very interesting article. You highlight a few more teams. So check it out. You highlight the Packers changing quarterbacks. So who knows what will happen there. Have a table. You have a data table, Denny. I thought that was a big step up for you.
Tables. I have all the numbers. You can dive in. I'm going to have a piece on the run heaviest teams in the red zone coming up soon.
Awesome. So check it out. Check out our blurbs. A little slower news time right now. We're working hard on our draft guide, but still going to have everything up on the site. Still going to be podcasting. Still going to be pumping out articles.
Yep.
Hoping to have one on our nation's general manager soon. About half done with that, and really wishing I was fully done with that because I
forward to it.
Need to get to work on the draft guide. I'll be honest, like real bad.
I do too.
Real bad. So need to get to work on that. I need to get to work on ending the show. For Denny Carter, I'm Patrick Daugherty. Thank you for listening. We will be back later this week with Kyle Dvorak, where, not to spoiler alert, I believe we will be drafting a best ball team. So
all right,
check that out on Thursday afternoon.